You know when your partner does something that really pisses you off. And in a moment of anger you say, "I'm gonna leave you," or they say it to you and you think, "Oh my God, I'll never survive without them." You probably won't, because according to Foucault, our desires are where power is exerted most effectively, especially in relationships. In his book, The History of Sexuality, Volume 2, Foucault argued that sexual relations are not just about procreation or pleasure, but also a battleground for power. He said that we have to be careful of those who seek to exercise power over us through our desires, which he called power through pleasure. So today we're going to talk about what exactly that means and how to protect yourself from falling into the traps of power through pleasure. Let's get into it. Okay, so Foucault believed that desire is a central aspect of human experience and that it shapes our thoughts, actions, and relationships. However, he also believed that desire can be manipulated by those in power to control and dominate others. This concept is known as power through pleasure, and it refers to how those with power can use our desires against us to maintain their dominance. So let's take a look how this might happen. First, Foucault argued that desire is not simply a biological or psychological phenomenon, but is also shaped by social and cultural factors. For example, we may desire certain things simply because they are seen as desirable within our culture. So if you've been brought up in a society that constantly bombards you with images of the perfect body, it's no wonder that many people desire to look a certain way. Similarly, if you live in a capitalist society that values material possessions, you might desire certain brands or products simply because they are seen as status symbols. So desire is not necessarily a bad thing. It is just important to be aware of the factors that shape our desires and whether they are being manipulated by those in power. So next, Foucault argued that those in power often try to control the desires of those with less power to maintain their dominance. For example, a controlling partner may try to dictate what their partner wears or how they look in order to exert power over them. They may also try to control their partner's desires through emotional manipulation or coercion. So a controlling partner may try to make their partner feel guilty or ashamed if they want to do something that the controlling partner doesn't approve of. This is a form of power through pleasure because the controlling partner is using their partner's desire for their own gain. Another way that power through pleasure can manifest itself is through societal norms and expectations. For example, there is a lot of pressure on women to conform to certain beauty standards in order to be seen as attractive. This pressure can come from various sources, including family, friends, media, and advertising. Women who conform to these standards are often seen as more desirable, while those who don't are often stigmatized or ridiculed. Similarly, men are often pressured to conform to certain masculine norms in order to be seen as powerful and attractive. This pressure can come from various sources, including family, friends, media, and advertising. Men who conform to these standards are often seen as more desirable, while those who don't are often seen as weak or feminine. So societal norms and expectations can also be a form of power through pleasure, because they control the desires of individuals and shape them into what society deems as desirable. Next, Foucault argued that those in power often try to create a climate of fear and control to maintain their dominance. For example, a controlling partner may try to isolate their partner from their friends and family in order to make them more dependent on the controlling partner. They may also try to control their partner's access to resources in order to make them more vulnerable to their controlling behavior. So creating a climate of fear and control is another way that power through pleasure can manifest itself, because it creates an environment where people are afraid to assert their own desires or needs for fear of being punished. So now that we understand how power through pleasure works, let's talk about some examples of it in action. In relationships, one partner may try to control the other's body, appearance, or sexual behavior to exert power over them. For example, a controlling partner may try to dictate what their partner wears or how they look. They may also try to control their partner's sexual behavior, such as the frequency of sexual relations or the types of sexual activity that are acceptable. This type of control can be very damaging to the controlled partner's sense of identity and autonomy. It can also create a power imbalance in the relationship that can lead to further abuse or exploitation. Another example of power through pleasure in relationships is when one partner uses emotional manipulation to control the other partner's desires. For example, a controlling partner may make their partner feel guilty or ashamed if they want to do something that the controlling partner doesn't approve of. They may also use emotional manipulation to punish their partner such as by giving them the silent treatment or withdrawing affection as a form of punishment. This type of behavior can be very damaging to the controlled partner's mental and emotional health. It can also create a climate of fear and control in the relationship that can make it difficult for the controlled partner to assert their own needs and desires. Now, it's not just in relationships that power through pleasure can manifest itself. It can also occur in other social contexts where there is a power imbalance between individuals or groups. For example, in a workplace, a controlling boss may try to dictate what their employees wear or how they look. They may also try to control their employees' behavior in order to maximize productivity, such as by monitoring their internet usage or requiring them to work overtime. In these situations, the employees may feel like they have little autonomy over their own bodies or behavior, which can lead to feelings of powerlessness and resentment. Additionally, the constant surveillance and control can create a stressful work environment that can negatively impact employees' mental and physical health. The same is true for those in positions of power within society. For example, a government may try to control the desires of its citizens in order to maintain power. They may do this by imposing restrictions on things like freedom of speech, assembly, and religion. By controlling the desires and actions of its citizens, a government can create a climate of fear and obedience that makes it difficult for people to challenge the status quo or demand change. This can lead to a society where people are afraid to express themselves or to advocate for their own interests. It can also result in widespread apathy and disengagement, as well as a lack of accountability and transparency among those in power. So how do we protect ourselves from falling into the traps of power through pleasure? First, we need to be aware of the ways that desire can be manipulated by those in power. We need to be aware of the factors that shape our desires and whether they are being manipulated by those in power. We should be cautious of those who seek to exercise power over us through our desires and take steps to protect ourselves from their influence. We should also be aware of the signs of a controlling or abusive relationship and seek help if we or someone we know is experiencing this. Finally, we should strive to create social systems and structures that promote equality, fairness, and justice for all. This can help to ensure that the desires and needs of all people are respected and protected, regardless of their gender, sexuality, race, religion, or other characteristics. So do you agree with Foucault's ideas about power through pleasure? Do you think that desire is a battleground for influence? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for watching.